now we're going to speak to the embassy of Russia. We were meant to speak to the ambassador, the Russian ambassador, but we were told that he got into another engagement. So we've got Alexandra Arefiev, who is Russian embassy press attache, and we are reflecting on a year since Russian forces rolled into Ukraine. And I want to know from you what your reflections are a year after that war, especially looking at the consequences that have come, that I've mentioned to you earlier on. Alexandra, thank you so much for joining this conversation. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
When this war started, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, said it's a military exercise. Is it still a military exercise a year later?
I'm not sure. I'm following you, because our president has never said it was a military exercise. We had military exercises prior to the special military operation, but it's not that it just one continues another. We described the events in Ukraine, our forced military intervention, as a special military operation, and if the status is still intact, it's still a special military operation.
So you're saying it's still a special military operation? What's the intention of so a year later, have you achieved what this operation was meant to achieve? Has it been worth it?
It's still work in progress, because the objectives are still intact. It's been described as the demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine, and still Nazism, and since Nazism is still rampant in today's Ukraine, this objective has not been completed yet. And the Kiev regime still poses a threat to the population of Donbass, which has been bombarded by the Kiev forces for 9 years already. So they're still threatening them. So yes, in this regard, the objectives are still there, and it's still work in progress.
So this special military operation to, as you say, denazify and demilitarize Ukraine, is it demilitarizing and denazifying the entire Ukraine, or is it certain regions and areas in Ukraine that, to your understanding, require this operation?
No. As far as I know, there was no specification with regards to certain regions or not. So the problem is that, the Nazi ideology is flourishing now thanks to the Kiev regime's effort. So this is, we're not specifying the regions, because it's not geographically connected. So it's just a political ideology that now is worshipped in Kiev. So, and denazification, it's still going. And the process that that slows down the demilitarization of Ukraine is the constant Western military support, which means that the West is just stoking the flames of war with its constant war supplies, with zero calls to the peace, mind you. So the West is still interested in making this conflict longer. And this is why, I'm sorry if I'm anticipating your question with regards to the peace talks, but this is why the peace talks has, unfortunately, no prospects as we stand today, because for two reasons. One reason being that the Kiev regime is not independent in its actions, which means that he's heavily, almost completely dependent on the will of its Western sponsors, and since West has no interest, seriously zero regard of peaceful resolution, the conflict will go on. That's the first reason. And second is the one I just mentioned. The West is interested in prolonging the conflict. As far as Russia is concerned, we would prefer to avoid this conflict. And Russia did everything it could on the diplomatic landscape to provide the peaceful resolution for the conflict. I remind you the draft agreements on mutual security guarantees, which was presented to the Western counterparts by Russian side in late December 2021. It could have been resolved peacefully a year ago without even starting, but what we got in response from the West was arrogance, complete disregard to Russia's security concerns, and complete disrespect for our position. So this is why we're a year inside the special military operation now.
So at what point then will you be satisfied that you have demilitarized and denazified Ukraine? What would happen?
It's hard to answer. Well, for one thing, I'm not exactly deciding what Russia's side might consider a conclusion for special military operation. But for one thing, the Kyiv regime must stop bombarding the peaceful the civilians in Donbas region, in Kharkov, in Kherson region, in the Zaporozhye region, which has been joined Russian Federation as a result of the referendum. So Kyiv. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Finish off first, Alexandra.
Yes. So the Kyiv regime just carries on with hostilities, stages new provocations, and it displays zero intent to go to the negotiating table. So Russia would like to resolve this in diplomatic way, but it takes two to tango.
Yeah, the ambassador says they're willing to sit down with you as Russia, but under one condition, that you withdraw the forces first. Because what's the point of sitting down and having peace negotiations, when areas are still being bombed by your forces?
The Kyiv regime is still staging provocations. It never ceases hostilities. It's not just Kyiv regime the Ukraine is doing nothing and Russia is just bombarding it.
But you started it, right, Alexandra? I mean, Kyiv didn't roll its. You started it as Russia. I mean, Ukraine didn't send its soldiers into your sovereign state, did they?
No. I will remind you that it all started because Kyiv regime launched atrocities against civilian population in Donbas, which are predominantly Russian population. Yes, it was a literal Russian genocide that has been taking place in Donbas for 8 years. And this is why Russia, with the help of Russia, the Minsk agreements were signed and were to be implemented. But Kyiv regime sabotaged the very agreement that would guarantee their territorial integrity at its own free will. And the West, we're recalling for our distinguished audience, the West said itself, through Angela Merkel, ex-German Chancellor, and ex-French President François Hollande, they said themselves that the Minsk agreements were mere decoy, a distraction to arm Ukraine, to pump it with weapons.
Yeah. If you are concerned as Russia, though, Alexandra, if you're concerned about the, as you say, and I quote here, the genocide against Russians or people of Russian descent in areas like the Donbas region, why is your special military operation not only contained in that region? Why are your soldiers still in Kyiv, still trying to claim other territories?
Well, because it's not the objective of military operation is not to claim territory, for one thing. Secondly, the regions, including Donbas, they joined Russian Federation at their own free will as a result of referendum. It's just political reality. So did Crimea back in 2014. It's just reality. So, and since it's Russian territory now, we are to protect our citizens, for one thing. Secondly, if Kyiv regime would start advancing its forces to the front line, which it never does, it's like the fifth way of mobilization now in Ukraine, I'm guessing. They're rolling more and more, including teenagers. According to some of reports in media, they're even recruiting teenagers in Ukraine to fight Russia.
Because they're trying to defend their country. Alex, the point I'm making is if your concern is the Donbas region or it's the Luhansk region, any other region that you think there's genocide against Russian people, why are you not confining this military operation there? Because your soldiers are still busy bombarding. They've been advancing. They've advanced towards Kyiv. They've advanced towards other areas where you have never said you are concerned about the genocide against Russians.
As I said, because Kyiv continues hostilities. We were, remember in 2022, in March, we were to start substantial negotiations in Turkey with regards to peace. What did Russia do? It withdrew its forces from major parts of the Kyiv region of Ukraine as a gesture of free will. We were ready to start negotiations, stop all hostilities, right then and there. Who sabotaged the agreements? Ukraine. Again, because it's not independent. You see, the Kyiv regime is not acting on its own, according to its own modus operandi. The West is backing Ukraine, is using Ukraine as a proxy war against Russia. It's no longer a conflict between only Russia and Ukraine. The West is heavily involved in this, and even top diplomats, mind you, they put their bets on military track. So they want a battlefield victory. So they're pushing Ukrainians to fight a senseless conflict because it could have been resolved in 2021 without special military operation. If Ukraine, I'm sorry.
Sure. You can finish it.
Sure. Sentence. If the Ukraine were truly independent and we could have resolved it just on the bilateral basis.
Yeah.
But no, West is interested in ruining Ukraine just to make it crash against Russia.
Speaking of the worst, Alexandra, with their interventions now, do you think that we could see here a confrontation that could slide into an open conflict between Russia and NATO, seeing the kind of assistance that NATO has been providing to Ukraine, or NATO members?
Yes, I get your question. Unfortunately, the risk of confrontation is rising because of the West. Because the West is keeps pumping Ukraine with weapons. It also comes up with new forms of support. So it's basically putting all eggs in one basket. So it seems. Because you see, the originally West was not even part of the conflict, but now it gravitates more and more to be a part of the conflict. This is not anything good.
Yeah.
This is not good news for the world, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So unfortunately, the risk is still there. But you see how much of a warmonger the collective West has become.
Okay.
They're not even talking about negotiations anymore.
Yeah.
They just want conflict. And Russia's vital security interests still stand. So this is why we introduced the mutual security guarantee back in 2021. If only West could have accepted that.
Oh, we're out of time, but my quick last question, Alexander. Are you, as Russia, at all sorry about the devastation that this war has caused on thousands of people that have been killed, on millions of people that have been displaced?
You see, let me answer. If I have time, I'll just get a voluminous answer to that. First of all, as far as Russia is concerned, we would have rather avoided armed conflict at all. This is why all our diplomatic initiatives prior to the special military operation was designed and was destined to be a diplomatic solution. We supported the Minsk agreements to the very end. Mind you, Russia is not even a side to the Minsk agreement.
Yeah, no, I hear that, Alexander, and I understand the context that you've provided to us. I'm asking, things have gotten to a point where you had to roll in your military into that country, and as a result, Ukraine responded, people have died, people have been displaced. Are you at all sorry when you look at the devastation that this war has caused?
Let me answer. So, we'd rather avoid that because Russia would never wanted to start a special military operation, even has been forced to do so. Of course, we're sorry because Russians and Ukrainians are deeply intertwined.
Okay.
You can't even imagine how deeply intertwined. So it's like fighting your brothers and sisters.
All right.
Of course, it's devastating. Of course, it's painful.
Right, Alexander. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, man. I'm out of time. Alexander Arefiev, Russian Embassy Press Attache. I appreciate your time.